Colorado started this work over 10 years ago. And Colorado started this work really looking at other states in the 2010, 2011 timeframe and saying, whoa, we're feeling a little behind the mark here. We are not organizing like we should. We're all doing it separately, right? We've got workforce boards and colleges and training organizations all doing it separately. And this is what we refer to as the death by 1,000 cuts. Because if you're an employer and you got all those bees kind of swarming toward you, it's a problem, right? And you're not necessarily engaging in the most authentic and high impact way. And so Colorado really had to take a step back. But here's the key thing about Colorado over 10 years ago. They looked at states like Massachusetts and Pennsylvania and Illinois at the time and Michigan, who were really hitting it out of the park in terms of building sector partnerships. And they noticed one big problem. All of those states had gobs of money, gobs, loaded. This was a time when the field of sector strategies was flush with cash. You name a foundation, they were in on it. They wanted to see how organizing employers was going to be a game changer for workforce and education, and federal departments too. And Colorado went, how come nobody's looking at us? We don't have gobs of money. How are we going to do this anyway? And that really began a quite long journey. But what it also did is it put Colorado on the map. And so for those of you who do not know, in what was the year 2012, I think you said, 2013? Anyway, after COVID, who cares about dates, right? Colorado really did some very difficult work. One, they pulled together state systems that did not talk to each other, right? Commission of Higher Education, your Economic Development, International Trade, right? Office of Economic Development, International Trade, your Department of Education, your, at the time, Workforce Council, that looked very, very different from what it looks like right now in your workforce division. And they said, how are we at the state system level going to get on the same page, figure out what the really good industry data is, and help regions organize by region, by regional economy around their most critical industries? How are we going to dump some myths about engaging employers? How are we going to get organized and break down the turf? That was the start to your long journey in Colorado, because what Colorado did effectively, very effectively, was then get 14 very different economic regions, which you all know well and live and work in them every day, to really get on the same page about a model, a consistent model. And it was the NextGen sector partnership model that they got on the same page around. And here's why. NextGen deliberately sets out to grow successful partnerships of employers and support partners without big money, because big money comes and it goes. And when it's the reason that a sector partnership comes together, big money comes and goes, sector partnership comes and goes. And so Colorado really put a stake in the ground and became a national leader. And I'm not just saying that to make Colorado feel good. They became a national leader around, here's how you mobilize as public partners and private partners around the work that needs to be done without big money. And then you figure out the money that's going to get your activities and your priorities off the ground in a constructive, sustainable way. So Colorado really tipped the scales nationally, and you really should know that, because after a certain period of years of being flush with cash, suddenly sector strategies weren't hot anymore, and there wasn't any money. And so lots of states started looking to you to figure out, how did they do this? How did they make this work? And they've taken a lot of tips and cues. So if you fast forward to today, what we know are sector partnerships are hot again. Have you noticed? Like Department of Labor is all about it again. U.S. Economic Development Administration, EDA, with their Good Jobs Challenge and their Build Back Better. It's all about how can we build partnerships of employers in a common economic region. It's coming with a lot of money too, right? And so part of the work to be done here, and the work that we invite you to consider, is how do we really make sure we're building partnerships for the right reasons and in the right ways, so that we're using funding effectively. And when the funding maybe goes away in 2 or 3 or 5 years, we still have a super strong partnership. And there are some amazing examples right in the state of Colorado.